All right, everyone, welcome to the Real Estate Game Changers Show. I'm your host, Mike McKay, based in Jacksonville, Florida. And each and every week, we do this show with people who are changing the game of real estate all over the country. And this is a live show. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comments for our guests to answer. For anyone who's interested in learning a little bit more about what we do at my company, Unload My Home, or interested in learning about how to hit your personal goals, we do a weekly Zoom call. It's totally free. Next Thursday at 10 a.m., we're doing one on aligning your passion with purpose, and we're going to share some tools with people that we use internally to help them reach their personal goals. So let us know if you want to join. You can check DM me on Instagram, and I'll send you the link. This week on the show, we have Keenan Wang. Keenan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, for the people who don't know you, could you tell us a little bit about how you got into the real estate business and how that's led you to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. Um, so I think I had to go back a little bit just because I do have a slightly little bit different background. Basically, born and raised in China, moved to the United States when I was 14. Um, so essentially, the immigrant background. Um, then middle school, high school in the United States, really got into the military. Saw my the Top Gun movie first, sold me to the Navy, sold myself to the Navy. So went to the Naval Academy 4 years, and then somehow then at the academy they convinced me to, instead of go pilot, I need to go submarine. So I um, yeah, service select a submarine, went through the nuclear pipeline, then did 8 years of active duty in the Navy, 3 years of sea duty on the West Coast. Then last 2 years was at the Pentagon in Washington D.C. Saw the Echelon One operation. Yeah, lots of basically how the U.S. government acquire weapons to outfit our military. Then that was at my that was at the a turning point in my military career. A lot of people at that time, usually they think about whether they should stay in, because at that time you are pretty much fulfill your government, your contract. um, then if you stay in, most people stay in for the rest of the 20 years career. But if you transition out, so you will be um, either find a civilian job that's the equivalent at that time in DC. There was a lot of my colleagues who were getting a government contractor job, just because the network that we have built in that region. Yeah, it's basically you just took off your uniform, put on suit and tie, and same very kind of same type of work. So that was one option. Obviously, I didn't do that option. Uh, um, and the reason I ended up here is so my family has already have a small mom and pop real estate portfolio in St. Augustine, Florida. So my mom found out that I was basically thinking about that transition, and she essentially just offered me, say, like, look, like, based on our family operation here, we can afford a actual to pay an actual manager. So essentially, she offered me a job to come home, and that's pretty much. I waiting my options. Then I actually, on the Christmas break, I came home and see what the operation was at home, back home here, St. Augustine. Before that, I didn't even know what's happening at home because I was so focused in the military, and my mom, like my parents, they don't talk about too much about operations at like what we're doing at home. But then I came home and I said like, so I realized like, yes, it's like extremely mom and pop setup, private landlords just like basically acquiring long-term rental properties, one or two a year over the last 20 years. So so basically we do have a portfolio. So I saw there's a huge potential in the family business. So I decided, yeah, I'm gonna um, basically, at that time I didn't completely quit the military. I got out of active duty, transition into the reserve. So I'm attached to the Naval Air Station Jacksonville. So that was 2019. I came home, then took over. Essentially, I think, I mean, it wasn't really a like a title or position, but looking back, what I was really doing, I think it's like a chief operating officer's position. Basically, I take care of operations of all the family business. Um, so that's how I started
mm,
in the. So I essentially, when I started, it was basically just property management. When I came home, it was basically I just I want to in the military you have like change of command. So I think I kind of like know that kind of procedure from the military. So if a new CO come to a command, then you have to do the turnover. So I treat it like that.
mm,
The thing is, you don't want any kind of like ambiguity about like who's in charge,
mhm,
right? So like the new CO is come on board, the old CO is stepping off. So you need to actually set the tone right. So right now we have a portfolio of rental properties with tenants. Um,
mhm.
then I just got out of the military, have no experience in property management, but I have to set the tone right. So pretty much I just I think I remember I wrote the first letter and sent it to all the tenants and say, so that was mid-April, and I say by May 1st, I will be your main point of contact from
Mhm.
that on. So that was my first step transition. So started in property management.
What were some,
If you have any questions right here, yeah, you
yeah,
can go ahead.
what were
But that
what
was
were
the
some
starting point.
what were some of the challenges of like transitioning from military, right, which you were doing for a long time, to
Mhm.
civilian work or civilian life?
Definitely it's a mindset change. In the military, especially in the nuke world, it's extremely black and white.
Mm,
Um, it's like you have the book, you have the procedure, you follow the procedure to the T, and if anything wrong, then it's like we actually do a very serious critiques on and a lot any of the mistakes, because you talk about potential serious personnel injury or equipment damage, like hundreds of thousands or $1 million of equipment damage if you don't follow procedures.
mm,
So we had the mindset of very black and white. That I
mm,
had initially when I come home. That was kind of my mindset. But overall, I adapted very quickly. In the civilian worlds, yeah, you play a lot in the gray areas, and at the end of the day, it's all about getting things done, achieving your goals, and meeting your achieve your next milestone.
mhm,
Yeah, we I definitely have become a much more fluid, more like water,
mhm,
um, with um, and this is a very much a personal judgment call. It's like you learn this from experience, right? Like same with your sales. So like sometimes you have to know like when to push, when to give.
mhm,
I think my key principle is always I want to achieve a win-win. So that would be my end goal for pretty much all of the decisions I try to make. It's always try to achieve a win-win for all parties.
Hmm.
Um, so so basically that's the end goal. Then I'm always willing to talk and work out solutions for with people.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, you could imagine like when I first came home, like basically my tenant pools. Yeah, I was doing a lot of like if you basically we had about 70% of a collection on rent rolls. So
Wow.
that one didn't work for me.
No.
Because my dad was the property manager before I took over.
Mm,
And he's a very laid back. I see there are a lot of mom and pop landlords operating like that. They just don't want to have the hard conversation with tenants, and sometimes tenants take advantage of that.
hmm.
I think when I came home, it was too much of black and white. But then later on, I adapted to how to be flexible because and like things that happens in life. So
Yeah.
um, basically,
How,
yeah, basically you get yeah. I'm sorry,
no,
you
you're
got a
good.
question.
How did
Yeah.
you, so like obviously 70% collection rate isn't great. Like how did you, like what were the steps you took to increase that?
Wow, it's basically for me it was eviction.
Okay.
Um, I Yeah, I mean there were I did kick out a couple of tenants, so where I think like in today I probably wouldn't kick them out.
Mm.
The so but basically I was black and white. Like if you're not paying rent, I filed I post a 3-day notice, and if you don't meet the deadline, I'll file eviction.
Mm.
So luckily, St. Johns County, yeah, in the first my couple of years into the business, I did a lot of evictions.
Mm.
Um, so I'm like, I have no problem with doing evictions. And but nowadays, I rarely do evictions. I don't even remember the last time I did an eviction,
Mm.
just because and nowadays I have 100% recollection. I'm a much more effective landlord now.
What did
Just
what did
just with yeah.
what did you change to be able to get from having to do all these evictions to at a 70% collection rate? Now you've got a 100% collection rate and you can't remember the last time you did an eviction. Like what changed in your process to allow you to get there?
No, first is definitely a much better screening, a
Mm.
tenant screening, and also I have tweaked that process as well. Before I took the black and white approach, so I set my requirements: the credit score, income, eviction records, all that. So if you don't meet that requirement, that I say bye bye. Um, and I know there are a lot of property management like that. That's nothing wrong with them, because I do manage property for other people. I think it's much easier if you manage for other people. You set requirements, and then if people don't meet that requirement, instead of taking on the liability of recommends a bad tenant to a property owner, you just have them say bye bye, right?
Hmm.
But for us, like private landlords, we have much more flexibility on our decision making. Um, and I do believe that, just based on my experience, I say 90% of the people are always trying to do the right thing. This is based on my experience.
Mm.
Sometimes people get stuck in the rut. Um, then at that time, you do have to see like the personal history, right? If someone who's gonna do their best to make payments, and sometimes something bad happens and they can't make it, that's a decision point that you have to make. They say, okay, this is kind of like a one-time thing. I work with them.
Hmm.
But if you see someone who's trying to take advantage of you, try to play the system, and then I have no tolerance for that. So
Mm.
that is the black and white. If you don't meet the deadline, you gotta go. So,
Yeah.
but right now, just because I doing the tenant screening, I basically I don't. If people have problems, I always put it in the description where I'm willing to negotiate with more deposit paid upfront.
Ah,
So
okay.
so basically, if I'm taking on the risk, I want to reward it for that risk that I'm
Hmm.
taking. So basic the I look at like so the advertised rent is for a tenant that meet my requirement. So that's the return on investment that assigned to a certain amount of risk. So if I
Hmm.
have someone who is less qualified, then I'll see their like why they're less qualified. Usually
Mm.
I can right now I'm good enough. I have a good read on people that I can just tell doing the showing. I
Hmm.
use the showing as an interview process. A lot of people
Ah.
don't know that. Like I just okay set up a showing. Then at the showing, I just casually ask their some question like, "Why are you moving? Where you from? What do you do for work?" And you can. That's actually my interview, but people don't
Ah.
know that.
You
Um,
sure? That's a great idea.
yeah,
Because they don't really have their guard up at
yeah,
all because they're just talking. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. And then people like if they talk about if they like a big red flag to me it is if they talk about the past landlord um then I basically yeah like how they complain about their past landlord um that
Ah,
that's that's a red flag. I mean I do have a lot of people complain to me about their past landlords.
yeah.
I always play with them. I say, yeah, oh, that sucks. But, but I'm mentally writing them off.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, but one is a very I guess a robust screening process, and then another thing is set the tone right from the get go.
Mm.
So I'm more about having the tone right, and if we start to have a relationship, then I can be more flexible. Um,
Mm.
and usually, I'm always very nice about cordial about things. So say like if a first tenant I just placed in, and I know the month the rent is coming up, and then if a lot of people actually proactively ask me about rent payment, how to set up payment. Those things are like always put a warm and fuzzy in my heart. But if
Mm.
someone I place in, I don't hear from them, and then when the first come, and then I don't see the payment, and then the like then on the first, and then I will start texting them. Just a very friendly, polite, like, "Hey, it's the first. I haven't seen the rent. So do you have any issues with the payment software platform or something like
Yeah.
that?" Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so that because sometimes people when they a lot of people they sign a lease, they think because you always have that grace period, the 5 day late fee grace period, people would
Yeah.
think that the fifth day is the deadline, which
Yeah.
in the beginning a lot of my tenants are operating like that. Right
Huh.
now, none of the tenants are operating like that. Like on the
Mm.
first, if you don't pay rent, you're gonna hear something from me.
Yeah.
and and I know just as a if I'm a tenant, I probably don't want my landlord to contact me. Like I want to live my life. So I'd
Yeah.
rather pay on time, just avoid that conversation.
Yeah.
So
So you were saying
yeah.
before, so let's say you have someone come in and there's like maybe something's off, right? Not a total red flag, but maybe it makes them a little bit more risky. So you're saying
Hmm.
that your rent that you set with, I guess, a 1 month security deposit, that's like the rent for the person who meets all the requirements. And
Yeah.
then if they maybe are on the edge, like they're kind of missing some of them, but you might still consider them, you take a larger security deposit. And is the rent more as well for the kind of additional risk that you're taking, or?
That's depend on the interview. Um, if it's like a little bit high end of a property, and I see like if like somebody will come in and say, I'm sorry, like I have a really bad credit score because of this, but I can pay you 6 months of rent up front. Okay, so I see this person has cash,
Mm,
then I'm not gonna take the 6 months. That doesn't mean anything to me, because I want to sniff out if there's a problem. So if someone gonna pay 6 months, all they do is they just kick the can down the road. Maybe you're gonna have problem on the seventh
mm,
months, right? So I don't take that. I just say how like I view advanced rent as a low on my priority. Like people sometimes will say I'll pay you 3 4 months. I said I don't take the advanced rent. The
uh,
advanced rent I only take it on the back end. I don't put it on the front end.
sure.
Um,
Yeah.
and I sometimes I don't even take it. I just say, how about you just give me double months in security and don't
Mm,
pay me because if they give me double rent in security, that actually covers both the rent liability and the property damage
hmm
liability. If they um if they give me advance rent that only covers the rent liability,
hmm
I still don't have any coverage. Like I do have a couple of tenants, they kind of move out, didn't destroy the property, but for me to put the property back on the market, I have to spend 10, 20 grand.
hmm
Essentially, the last 2 years of rent is into the renovation. Um, I mean that 1 month rent is not nearly enough to cover the cost for that.
mm,
So pretty much the main concern is the rent, risk on rent collection and
hmm
risk on property damage. So if I can, so I always opt to be more in the security deposit. I
hmm
my default is double security deposit, but if I kind of like if doing the showing interview, I feel like this person is kind of like barely meeting that financial requirement, but I feel like they have a like good heart, try to do the right thing. I want to place them, but I do want to cover my risk. Um,
hmm
then at that time, that maybe double rent insecurity could be a too much of a hurdle for them to overcome. But I would settle for 50% more on
hmm
security.
Yeah.
Usually for a problem applicant, 50% more on security is like my bottom line. If you're a problem person and you can't put 50% more on security, then
Yeah.
it's not going to work for us. Yeah.
Do you ever change the amount of the of rent based on like how risky you view a tenant?
Not recently. Um, I think I may have done it once, um, because most of the time is yeah, most of the time is either they are struggling. So I basically I just have them pay a little bit more on
Hmm
security.
Gotcha.
Um, yeah.
So I know we haven't touched on this yet, but obviously you came back, you started managing the family's portfolio, but now you build a lot of new construction homes in St. Johns County.
Yes. So I mean, when I got back, there was a lot of soul searching. Um, I would say the first year, I like I want to do something, basic, but I just don't know where my heart is. Um, because like you think about like when I was in the military, I got off as a lieutenant commander. Basically we were operating $2 billion nuclear submarines that was on the sea duty, and and then and then I work in the Pentagon in the two-star general's office. We're making like multi-million dollar acquisition decisions. So it's a lot of high level, and now I'm coming back and I'm dealing with still tenants.
Chasing down the rent. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, there was another story. That's like in the beginning, we had a lot of like really uh, crappy rental properties because those are the properties that cash flow really well, like mobile homes, trailers. So we had a lot of those.
Hmm.
Um, so there was literally like I had a few incidents where we have to like knock on doors and kick squatters out. I had one incident. That this is a little bit more recent, where basically it was during COVID. We evicted a tenant, and there's probably some shady things going on, and the husband like rushed back. You hear the tire squeaking was the truck like flew back because the wife was at home and the sheriff was like about to kick her out, and she called her husband back, and the husband just flew back to the house and was calling me my names, and the sheriff was like called back up, so there were like 6 cop cars show up within 5 minutes, and they put that guy in handcuff. Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah, I was dealing with this kind of thing. So, but yeah, from the first year, I was really trying to figure out like what do I really want to do, um, with the business. So first, number one, for I was kind of working. I mean, we were operating our portfolio, but also investing in real estate. So we'll look at deals at that time. I mean, it's deals like for retail investors. Now I work with wholesalers like you guys to get better deals. But yeah, but we were working with like real estate agents at the time. Basically, just to either acquiring new deals or offload some old properties in our inventory. And um yeah, I was looking at how much the real estate agent is doing, then how much commission she's collecting. Back then I thought like, maybe I can do this. So at first I got my real estate agent license, which is something pretty easy to do. um so that kind of like started at the real estate sales agent side of things. Then I was both like operating a family portfolio, but also try to become a real estate sales agent. Retrospect, I didn't like that. I didn't like to be a sales agent. Um, then we came across a really nice deal where there was a property was I show you this. There was a property. There's one house sitting on the middle, but it's 4 buildable lots. For some reason, nobody saw that one. Back then, it
Hmm.
was 150,000. The lot was listed at 150,000 for 4 lots, um, and it was on the market for a year. So, and we saw that. We just made an offer 120, and the seller sold to us. So 124 buildable lots. Then so that kind of started our my development interest. Oh, sorry. Before that, I did a one flip.
Hmm.
I did a one flip because I want to know the business. So for this flip, I specifically tell myself like I'm gonna do everything possible, like hands on wise.
Hmm.
So I pretty much only sub out the things that I have to sub out, like all
Hmm.
the specialty trades. Then, but everything that if I can do it, I don't need the license. Then I was gonna do it. So I did that one flip. Um, at the end of that project, that like two things I learned from that project is one, I don't want to flip old houses anymore. Because like because at the end of the day, you like number one, you're working with a floor plan, the footprint of the house, that was designed like in the 60s. There were lots of inefficiency in the floor plan, but
Mhm,
you're kind of constrained by that, so
mhm,
you can't. There's nothing you can do about it. So you're working with a constrained floor plan, and then the another thing is the drainage is old. So we realized that the old drainage, after we already putting everything brand new, and now the sewer is backing up. So that's the biggest problem. Lessons I learned is, if I have to do another flip of an old house, definitely inspect the health of the sewage system. Yeah, spend the money to do the inspection because that's normally not part of a home inspection. Yeah,
mhm,
the inspector doesn't inspect the sewer. So yeah, just yeah, make sure that, yeah, if we have to put in new sewer, definitely put in that. That's a worthwhile investment. Much better than after you putting everything shiny, brand new, and now the sewer is backing up.
yeah,
That's a nightmare. Then a second main lessons I learned is that I don't want to do the hands-on operation because because I do have a lot of people that's around me. They do the hands-on. Basically, that like they think it's saving the laborers if they can just put in the trims themselves. It's something like even easier, like paint. A lot of I think back then my parents used to paint houses, paint our own rental property. When I got back, I paint our own rental properties because I thought it was saving money. But then I realized during that whole process is that basically there are people live their life specialized in these trades, and they can
mhm,
do it much more efficient, and they enjoy doing it, and they can do this until their retirement. And if I have to learn that, um, then I'm like way behind on the curve, and it's not something I even enjoy doing.
mhm,
So pretty much, yeah, that like the hands-on flip. I learned what to like how to appreciate the trades.
mhm,
So that's the big lesson. So that was the flip. And then we start looking to new construction, and that when you compare the pros and cons between flip old houses and doing new constructions, if the conditions right for the investor, new construction is a no-brainer.
mhm,
But there is some like criteria so you have to meet. One is capital. It's
mhm,
much harder to have the capital to pull off a new construction project versus a flip.
mhm. So
Yeah.
you started like, I think, was that your first project that I met you at that time where you did those? Was that four? Was that the one you were talking about?
Yeah. 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 That's the
Okay.
first time we actually met. Mhm.
Yeah. And then, but from there, like you've grown the building business a lot. I know. Are you still building a lot of them to rent, or are you selling some of them, or what's like the model this year?
Yeah, in the beginning, we were doing a lot of the cash flowing properties in Class C area. Um, I mean, there are a lot of builders, the tract home builders that build houses like us. The difference is they build houses to sell, and we build houses to hold.
Mm,
So yeah, we build them and rent them. That's a big difference. So in the first couple of years, basically we kind of like replace our the crappy properties in our portfolio with the new brand new ones.
Hmm.
So so I think that's one of the things that we did to our portfolio. So our portfolio is, even though our number of property really didn't change that much,
Hmm.
like compared to when I got back to till now, but our profitability on each property is like 2 or 3 times more than
Hmm.
what we used to do. And our headache is dramatically less because almost no maintenance, and the new construction attracts very good tenants from the
Hmm.
get-go.
Hmm.
um and it shows really well. One thing is kind of like, you don't kind of know this, and most people don't factor this in, is um the time between you list it on the market and rent it out. So new construction, so we will always take professional photos no matter
Hmm.
what. Even so, the new construction, the difference between professional photos and reality is almost none. The
Right.
property shows exactly like how it looks on the photo. So if most of people come, they attracted by the photos, and like our conversion rate is extremely high for
Hmm.
new construction. With older properties, a lot of people attracted by the professional photos, which that means the professional photos have done their jobs
Hmm.
attracting prospects. But a lot of people kind of see the reality. There's a difference between reality and the photos. So we do work a bit harder on the older house on
Hmm.
tenant placement than new construction. So so yeah, we definitely love the new constructions in our portfolio.
What would you
So
what would
yeah,
you
go ahead.
what would you say is like the time difference, or recently, like how long does it take to lease a new construction versus some of your, older homes that are still in the portfolio?
I think the time in St. Augustine is always very good as far as rental goes. I never had properties that's more than 3 weeks on the market
Really?
since I come back in 2019. Yeah. So,
Wow.
and during COVID, I'm talking about like I list a property I have it rented over the weekend. But now we are going back to like the 2 3 weeks mark. But
Hmm.
I never had any property sit on the market for more than a month. Um, and if like in 2 weeks, if I don't see the actions I like, the activities I like, I'll lower the rent.
Mm.
Until I see the activities I like. But as far as yeah, you're asking the time difference,
Hmm.
I think most of the new constructions, I pretty much like I I signed I convert on like on the first show. The only
Really?
people that I wouldn't
Okay.
convert is if they don't qualify. So
Hmm.
that would be the people. Like I never had people come and then turn it down. So
Huh.
that is the big difference, where in the older homes where I had people come and then it's not because they don't qualify, but they think they have other options elsewhere.
Mm.
So that's a big difference. So usually for older homes, I definitely do like maybe 3 4 5 times showings, where on the
Hmm.
new construction is pretty much the first one who qualifies, then I lease it right away.
Yeah. And when you're building these, because I know you build some for other people, but when you're building them to rent, are you putting certain, like, I don't know, what comes to mind for me is like, are you building them in a certain way to be more durable or more tenant proof, as people call it? Or,
Yes, for sure. Um, First, it starts with the design. So we basically we have architect that we give them requirements to design it in the most efficient way and we
Mm,
tweak it. We tweak our designs for every build we do. Now we tweak less. In the beginning, we tweak a lot more.
mm,
So basically, they are designed to be 3 bedroom, 2 baths, 1250 square foot conditioned
mm,
space. Um, and we designed it to maximize like every square inch of the conditioned space. So one of the a lot of the favorable comments that we got from everyone look through our house is they definitely feel like our house is a lot bigger than
mm,
1250,
mhm,
because a lot of people they live houses that's like 1300, 1400 square foot, but when they come to our house, even though it says 1250, but it feel like it's bigger than the 1400, 1300 square foot houses, just because we're maximize the efficient use of every square inch in the house. So that comes with the initial design,
mhm,
and our houses are designed for this purpose. Um, and then on the material selections, yes, definitely all the tenant friendly selections. That's why we always advertise. One thing for me to drive revenue is we allow pets. We always put in privacy fence,
mhm,
and I always hope tenants come with pets, because we just upcharge them for new construction. I upcharge $75 a month for pets,
mhm.
um, which people are more than willing to pay that for their
Mhm.
pets.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, and all like all the materials that we use, so we don't mind. There's nothing they can destroy about that property that we can fix. I mean, most of the damage will be cosmetic. Um,
Mhm.
there's nothing they really can do to hurt the structural or plumbing, electrical, mechanical side of things. So all of them is like drywall, trims, doors. So, but those things are easy fix
Yeah.
for us. Um, so yeah, pretty much. Yeah, answer your question. Yeah, we start with the design that's most rental efficient, and then selection that is pretty much tenant proof.
Okay. Gotcha. And we were talking a little bit offline. We were talking about like how do obviously you're, building a bunch of homes and you're not building them yourself, so you have to attract and make sure you screen subs to make sure you're working with good quality subs. It seems like you've done a good job about doing that. Like what's your process to do that?
Yes. So definitely work through a lot of subs. Um, Also learn my lessons, a lot of lessons with that too. So my process of I've refined. Basically right now I'm in the position. I think it works both ways. So I mean, you got to be a good contractor to attract quality subs. They want to work for you. So
Hmm.
in the beginning, it's basically word of mouth in the beginning because I didn't know anybody. So basically, just ask around. You start with just like people who have done things. Usually start with one sub. Then if you like the sub's work, then you can ask that sub if they know anybody who does other things.
Mm,
um so so pretty much that's how I started with my team of subs. And then overall, the couple of things like I always hear a lot of podcast contractors, they always use the word you got to treat your subs well. What does treat your subs well mean? How do you convert that to actionable item? I never heard anybody actually talk about what is treating the subs well, like what action items that you take. And the thing is, it's not always a black and white. Every Everybody is different. Um, so so there are like for instance, there I had a sub that worked for me for two 2 years. Very good, very good, no problem, very good pricing. And then all of a sudden, the new bids that they come in, I see there's a price of a price hike. Then I talk to them like, oh, so why it's why are things getting more expensive? Then usually this, I mean, I'm kind of like the same because I'm a general contractor, so I deal with homeowners. So
Hmm.
if my price increase, the homeowner ask me. Sometimes I give them the real answer. Sometimes I make up an answer and say why this is the reason. So I can tell that when the subject do that to me too, they can just say, well, the material has probably the price has gone up. So I start so every time usually like if there's a price hike, then I start to talk to other subs that's kind of like for my like solid like good quality subs. I kind of usually I don't always check on their price. But sometimes if I feel it's necessary, there are some trigger points. So one trigger point is if they increase my price, then if you're gonna increase my price, I'm gonna shop around. Then there are subs who are okay with you shop around, but then there are other subs who are not okay with you shop around. So everyone is different, and sometimes in the beginning, like then I have like subs calling me um, in a very hostile tone and said like, "Huh, I know you started using other people." They said, "Oh, well, do you know what happens to other builders who start shopping around? They're gonna see a price increase." Then I mean, in my mind, I say, okay, so so I'm not using you because your price is too high, and now you're gonna increase my price more instead of like pulling me back, which giving me a better deal, but now you're gonna increase my price.
Yeah.
Then sure, it's gonna push me away. Um, and in the beginning, I always have kind of concern like when I'm putting all my eggs in one basket that I was very relying on a lot of key subs.
Hmm.
So that was kind of like my concern. Like, okay, so what happened if these subs stop working for me? Would I be able to replace them with another high quality subs? But after going through a few drills like that, like basically, I even had good people quit on me because life happens, people change. I've been through enough that now I'm much more confident with looking for basically getting the leads on the subs and then screen them throughout with my process and make sure they they meet the quality, meet the standard of our operations. Um, and and then the basically nowadays so there's because I do treat myself so well. So okay, so here are the action items for what treats yourself well is to pay them fast. So that is one action item is to pay them fast. So I have a great reputation in St. Augustine to pay people fast. So now there are a lot of people actually want to come work for me. So I got a lot more phone calls for people. They say like, hey, do you need this? Like we specialize in this. Do you want to do this?
Mm.
So just just being a good general contractor, and now you are attracting more subs that want to work for you. But I didn't have this luxury when I started. Um, so, but still, like I think it's the same complaints like you guys can't get enough needs or there's the homeowners always want too much too much for the on the wholesale deals. Basically on the subs like if people complains about not finding good quality subs is just mostly because they haven't interviewed enough subs for
Mm.
that job.
What
So
what
that
are
yeah, so yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say what are so paying them fast? What are some of the other action items of treating subs well?
So you have to understand how subs makes money. In the beginning, I didn't have a clue, and nobody was telling me this. So I had a very good sub that even I don't know why he didn't tell me this. Maybe he just assumed I know this. But from military to civilian, I didn't know the the construction industry, like how people making money. So right now, I'm extremely conscious about making sure the the initial. So basically in the military, we always, when we carry out a procedure, always say initial conditions are met, precautions are read and understood, and then follow procedure. So the initial condition is a very important step. So when you have the subs start on a project, you need to make sure all the initial conditions are met for them to start.
Mm.
That doesn't mean like the initial conditions are met 90%. That's how I operated when I started. Like sometimes I have 90% of the material on the job site. I say, how about coming here, do 90% of the work, and then finish off the 10% when I have the 10%. Yeah, so I didn't know. I say like, hey, I got 90% of material here. Why you're not showing up? So so that's kind of the things I didn't know. Nobody told me that. So I thought, well, if I have 90% and you say you're gonna start today, then you can come here, do 90% of the work. And I usually in my mind I think, okay, if this is like a 2-day job, then if I have 90% of the material here, then you can at least come here to knock out 1 day's of work, right? Then just come back on the second day. That's how I thought, how I was thinking before. And then I definitely have um, pushed away some of the subs that I like to work with in the long run, just
Mm.
because my mistakes and nobody showed me the rope. But after um, just I actually done a few other workshop, not construction related, but we have done a workshop. It was like public speaking workshop. And we had a like general contractor there, and just accidentally they talked about this, and I learned from them
Mm.
is that the subs makes the most money when they can come in, knock it out, and leave and get paid. So if you operate like that, and people can give you a very good deal because they understand that when you call them in, everything's going to be
Uh,
ready and they can come in, knock it out, and leave. So then they get paid. So
mhm.
so that's how I operate now. I'm extremely conscious about when I schedule subs. I need to make sure, like, I mean, I can't, because one of the things that we operate, um our operation good on the good side is we build houses very fast.
Mhm.
um building houses fast is just a basic operating with no gaps. We don't rush people, but we just operate with no gaps. um so to operate with no gaps, if the subs are scheduling out 1 or 2 weeks out, then you have to schedule them.
Mm.
But you have to be extremely conscious about make sure it's ready. If the moment you know it's not going to be ready, you rather call them and reschedule them. Because if it's not ready, it's my fault.
Mhm.
um, I know some people, they don't want to lose that spot because they think if they call them and say it's not ready, then the sub's gonna push them out 1 to 2 weeks down the road, and they don't like that. So they rather keep that spot until the last minute And then if it's not ready, or maybe 90% ready, and the subs show up, you're not ready, then they're not gonna be happy. And sometimes some subs they got their foot in the door because they gave you a good deal. So if they give you a good deal and you can't run an efficient operation, and
Mm,
then they don't make money, then in the future they just either give you a higher price, or they just not gonna work for you anymore. They don't answer your call
yeah.
anymore. um so pretty much, like, for me, if I schedule a subs and it's not ready, I'm totally okay with they schedule me out to whenever the next spot is.
Yeah.
So that's on my side. And the thing I ask for my subs is, if they show up, they don't leave my job until it's done. Because I know some
Mm,
subs that they have like a 1 day opening, and they want to keep their guys busy, but they actually
mm,
have another big job schedule on the following day. So they come here and do 1 day of work, and they go on to the next job and do that job, then come back. So like, I don't work with subs that operates like that. So
mm,
I basically, I tell them up front. I say, to work on my job, like, I'll make sure, like, what I can promise you is, you come to my job, everything's gonna be there ready for you. What I'm asking you is that you don't leave the job until it's done.
mm,
So that's if they can't commit to that. um I mean, some people may, I don't know. I never run into issue like this, because most of the time people just, yeah, yeah, oh yeah, we'll do that. So like, if they're gonna do that, then that's a mental check for me.
mhm,
I mean, I'm still gonna pay them, and when the work is done, but then they just not gonna be one of my top tier subs on the future jobs. So
mhm.
maybe I only give them the job that's kind of like too busy for my team A team or B team, and now you get the leftover jobs.
What are you doing
Yeah.
to what are you doing? Well, you said there's two parts of it, right? So you have to
Mhm.
find the subs and then you have to screen them. So outside of just asking your existing subs for referrals, how else are you finding subs?
Pretty much there's just a list. I think the referral is the best. That is because I do get a lot of high quality subs from referrals. So nowadays my referrals are actually selling me. Because,
Mm,
like, one of my subs are calling their other buddy, and they put in like a great word for me.
mm,
Sometimes I just, like, they just call their buddy in front of me, or their buddy will tell me, hey, so and so say, like, you know what you're doing, you pay really quick, like pay quickly. That is the key. Like, you don't, like, a lot of people probably in our position as investors don't understand how paying quickly, it's a huge to those subs.
yeah.
That's why I'm also very conscious about, like, actually pay them very quickly, like, because I understand um how people like, view, if you say, like, I'm sorry, these things come, like, essentially, like, say, if they are expecting a paycheck on Friday, and then maybe something that's not convenient to you that come up, that you can't pay them conveniently. Maybe to you, you think, oh, how about I just pay you on Monday? um I'm very conscious about that kind of excuse, because I would think, especially for people who don't know me that well yet, then I will probably, uh, it's probably not a good look. So if something is inconvenient coming up, that for me to pay them, like, I will go out of my way to pay them,
Hmm.
so that I won't use my inconvenience to delay other people's paycheck. So that's
Yeah.
how I operate, and apparently that's like a big deal in this industry, which sometimes I feel like the standard is kind of low. Which so
Yeah,
if I doing the right thing, then then yeah. So
yeah.
yeah,
I've had that policy for like 5 years. I say you finish what's on the job, you get paid today. I got to
yeah,
go and check it, right? You got to give me notice that it's going to
yeah,
be done today, and or my project manager will go check it, but you'll get paid today.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and it's amazing what you're saying is how far that goes and how people will prioritize your job first because they know if they do it, they're going to get paid as soon as it's done. I've found, at least.
yeah. Yeah, because I do have a subs that they work with the more like large scale companies.
Mhm.
And a lot of them have net 30.
Yeah.
You know net probably your audience probably don't know net 30. Um Basically just you send in the invoice, they have 30 days. The the um the contractor has 30 days to pay. And usually the subs know that when they sign up for the job. So
Mhm.
sometimes they're like, if they work for like Toll Brothers, DR Hortons, a big contractor, they have the net 30 policy. And when you bid on the job, you know that's what you get into. So you organize your operation to operate like that. So, but to us, if the job's done, well, you get paid right away. It's a big deal to them. They don't have to wait 30 days.
Yeah. Who wants to wait 30
Yeah.
days to get paid? So if
Yeah,
you,
there's some like less
Mhm.
sophisticated companies. They also operate at net 30. It's some like a ridiculous stories I hear from my subs, where like some kind of like problem that company has and miss the pay, and now they have to wait another 30 days, which is ridiculous to me. So
Yeah,
myself had to wait like 60 days to collect the paycheck.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, obviously, like now you have the referrals because you've established yourself, but like if you weren't at that point yet, like probably some of the people listening to the show, how would you go about finding those subs if you didn't have the option of all the referrals that you have now?
Yes. It's a pretty the basic way. You basically Google, then drive around town, like basically see any jobs that a lot of people put out a sign. The Google thing, I'm a little bit um have a precautions against, because of Google, you are only finding the companies that are tech savvy.
Hmm.
But there are lots of good quality subs that they're not good at the tech knowledge. Maybe they never have a Google business. So if you only stick with Google, then you kind of like missed out on those high quality, low tech subs. so 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 those type of people, yeah, basically, um, I mean, you do have to be conscious about this visiting job sites, because I know the general contracts don't like people to visit their job sites. As long as you're not gonna have cause any problem,
Hmm.
then visit job sites and other people's job sites and see. I mean, you can even just if they have trucks that have numbers, or like along the when you drive around, see trucks around, and like quickly snap a picture of the trucks. And so I would say, yeah, pretty much you just Google and then just looking around outside of referrals. Um,
Yeah.
but I can say even referrals of people can. It's not just referral from subs, but also referral from family and friends.
Hmm.
Um, One thing about referral that you do have to be conscious about is the scope of work. Um,
Hmm.
it's like not everyone is good at a lot of things.
Hmm.
Maybe like they come from referral because they did a really good job on this specific area. But some people come, they want to take on a lot. They take want to take on more than they can chew. So
Mm,
then, yeah, then the things that you want to screen them for the specific scope of work that you want them to accomplish. Obviously, if someone refer that to, like a family or friends, who refer them to you, then that's a testament to their character, at least. So at least
mhm.
they're like an honest person. Um, but make sure that because sometimes the referrals are not also doing good if the scope of work is beyond their capability.
Yeah. So once you've kind of got, introductions to all these subs or you've attracted them, right? Like what is your process to screen them?
Pretty much the in the beginning is always because I'm general contractor subbed out to all the work, so I need to make sure they have insurance and workers comp.
Mm,
That's like a minimum. So pretty much like I need to. The first thing is like I just text them or send them. I say this is my email. Send all your business documents to my email. And then so usually you'll find that there is um, a group of companies that they have their stuff together, and when you ask for that, you receive it right away. So
mhm,
that sets a good impression.
mhm,
Then you have people that drags drags, and you have to keep asking them. So usually you just know that they probably don't have the documents that you want them to have, and they kind of just try to get them now. So yeah, so the first step is to make sure they have their insurance and workers comp. Um, and then the second step is basically to have them send me recent projects for the
mm,
scope of work that I want to do. Um, so that on that part, and I can almost immediately tell that guy's an expert or not. Um, Obviously, like if someone asks me to show my recent project, like I can like within seconds just send them like what I've done if I'm experienced in this field.
mhm,
If I'm not experienced, then I probably make up some excuses of why I cannot show them the some of the recent projects. So for them, it's the same thing. Basically, if I want this scope of work, then I just say, just give me like some two or three jobs of one that's already completed. And I usually assume that usually the good guys that they're always busy, so they should be working right now. So I just like, or any jobs that you're working right now, I can come check it out. So
So you
so those are one of the, yeah.
so you ask them for the scope of work for the current job, and then you go there and check it out with them.
No, I basically tell, usually the conversation is I tell them what the scope I need.
Oh, what you
I
need?
just
Okay.
say, show me, yeah, show me something that you have done similar um
Mm,
to the scope I need. Then usually some good people, they will just like bombard you with some like project they've done. And some people just not so much. Like depend on the
mm,
task. um if it's a highly specialized and I'm paying a lot of money, then I definitely want experience.
mm,
If something that's like less specialized, I know somebody can learn it very quickly. And if that person is someone new, I can basically I can take a chance on something that's less technical.
mm,
Um, so, but for the highly specialized, I definitely are very strict on looking basically reference. So I need to see their reference. And then the last step is usually for new people. Yeah, new people, I'll walk with them on the job. Basically, I tell them exactly what needs to happen, because there's a lot of things. Something very simple, tile work.
Mhm.
So tile work, like say if you go tile a shower, um, there are different levels of initial conditions. So when the subs they bid on the tile job, you need to tell them exactly what the initial condition is. Like, are the Duroc Han, is the waterproofing done? Are the like the mud pan that's already built, or do they need to do that, or do they need to building a niche, or the niche is already built for them, or they just
Mhm.
come lay the tiles? So pretty much, I always walk with them on the job, on the then I just tell them, like, say, look, this is the initial condition. Then I show them a picture. This is the end result. Give me a quote that will take this to this. And then
I like
then
it. Yeah.
then I yeah, yeah, then I do tell them that I will supply all the all the design materials. So anything
Mm.
that the customer see that I supply. So for tile job, it will be the tiles, the marble, the grout, and the trim, like the Schluter trim. So
Mhm.
those things I supply. I say any of the material that nobody gets to see that you supply. That means thin set, um, like pretty much the thin set and the mud. So I have my tile guy build the mud pen, so they have to bring their own mud to build that. So pretty much I just tell them, yeah, I like when you come to the job, they basically all the tiles will be there. Then you come with your own thin set because you know how much thin set you need. So
Mhm.
I don't want to like ask how many thin sets you want, and so that's pretty much one how we set up as far as the tile job goes.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of the process that you show. I do like that how you show them this is the initial condition and here's what I want it to look like. Give me a bid to get me there. Right? It's very specific.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that's very efficient too, because I
yeah.
like sometimes if I have to get multiple bids on one job, that's a very quick way to compare apples to apples, because sometimes the
Mm.
people bid on things if they don't understand the 100% the scope. Some people gave you a higher bid, but you have to know that higher bid maybe included more things, where the other person gave you a lower bid where they didn't. Say like maybe if they give you a high bid, the tile shower, the niche is included, and the other person gave you a lower bid where they didn't include building the niche. So
Mm.
do you need to make sure that you compare apples to apples on the quote.
Yeah. And then are you kind of giving them like a small job at first? Is that how, or do you have any way that you
Oh
like
yeah.
test people out or like,
Yes. Unless it's like if I have someone, if somehow if I lost a sub just like in a big job that I have no option of, if I do have the option, I always start them with a small job.
yeah.
A small low risk job, preferably is my job. Um,
Mm.
then I test them out, and then yeah, if they do right, then I'll if I have the opportunity, I always want to test people on my job first before I start using them on customers' job.
Hmm. Yeah. Any other tips that you have for people if they're thinking about hiring out some of their own subs?
Mm, probably right now. So yeah, I think working efficiently, basically get them paid fast, and one of the thing is don't get too comfortable with your subs. It
Mm.
is a business relationship. Sometimes the subs gets too friendly. They want to be your friends. Um, like I'm a nice person. I can be very friendly, but still I'm not your friends. uh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the you always so the subs that you want to be surrounded with are the ones that have a healthy mindset where they do work, they offer they asking for reasonable price, and then they don't mind competition.
Mm,
I definitely had a few subs that um they do mind competition, where I some of them I lost them temporarily. Some of them I so far lost them permanently. Maybe until later on they come back. Just because they don't like. The thing with me is if like I don't I understand loyalty, um, because there are things some a lot of things that you don't a lot of people like us don't see. Maybe there are subs that they took care of something, they did some extra stuff on the job that you didn't see or they didn't tell you. um or maybe they mention it, it didn't register in your brain that
mm,
that's kind of like went out on the limb that they didn't have to do that, but they did it for you, it didn't charge you extra. So a lot of subs they did that for you. In return, they want to have some reciprocity with that. If they do you some favors, they want at least a priority, to take on the future jobs.
mm,
um, sometimes there is mismatch between the amount of the favors they did for you, think how much you owe them in terms of favor, and from your perspective, how much what's the price tag you put on the loyalty.
mm,
So I understand them more now, appreciate them more now than before, because I have a lot of subs that they do a lot of extra for me.
mm,
Sometimes they don't charge, even they don't even charge me, if it's easy for them to do. They could have charged me, but they don't. Um,
mm,
and then there are subs where they took care of some small jobs on this job, and they know, like, I'm very good at paying them, so they just say, okay, don't pay this don't pay me now on this thing so small, how about just throw it in on the next bigger paycheck, which I always do.
mm,
So pretty much, if you operate like this, uh, you get a lot of the small things done, with high quality subs, because a lot of high quality subs, they don't like to do small jobs, they don't get
mm,
paid. The time is not worth it to do small jobs. But if for me right now, basically they know they're gonna get paid and on a bigger job, so they don't mind do some small jobs for me. With that, though, they in their mind they're doing the tally, like how many favors they're doing to you. So in the future, they're expecting to get the work.
mm,
um so if you're not conscious about that, you probably would dismiss this when you compare, when you do getting multiple bids in the future jobs, and then maybe this sub, so who's loyal to you, is a little bit higher price tag than the other, maybe newer subs that they try to get the job. So there is a price tag for that loyalty. The
mm,
thing is that how much the price tag is that worth? um and at the end of the day, is so my best interest is my business. So whatever things I do is, I do it for my business. If the best interest of my business is to keep this relationship, then I will keep this relationship.
mhm,
uh, but if you come in at an extremely high price tag, then other people than expecting a loyalty from me, then I'll say, maybe in this task, this scope of work, that your business operation not set up to where I need it to be, because
Yeah.
there is an efficiency sector where some people can just operate more efficiently
Hmm.
than this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is another thing. I think, yeah, loyalty, and
Yeah.
it's not a black and white. Um,
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. Um, we're getting close to the end here, and there's always two questions that I like to ask at the end of the
yeah,
show.
yeah,
First
yeah.
one is, what is the craziest or most uncomfortable situation that you have ever experienced in a real estate deal?
Uh, I think there are a few sectors, because I have the property management, I have construction, and I have the real estate sale. Which sector do you want to hear the most?
Pick the craziest one.
The craziest
Craziest
one
part.
is definitely the six cop cars.
Okay.
That that I mean, because nothing beats it when you actually like fear for your life. Um, because I'm a lot of that time, so it's like not life threatening. So I mean, yeah, you lose money, but you can make money in the future, but you only have one life. So there were some definitely, I have encountered some very shady operations in my property management experience. One of that is the Kafka's, where it was some like, yeah, the husband was driving his pickup like screaming back to the house, and I was like, right after he got off, he was calling my names, and there was only one sheriff, deputy deputy sheriff, um, but immediately he got it under control. Um, so I think I have definitely dealt with some of the really low of the low in the real estate sector.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Fair enough. Six cop cars.
Yeah.
The second question I like to ask for the newer people listening to the show is, if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice when you were looking for your first real estate deal, knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself?
um I think this is more like a retrospect advice. But I would tell myself focus less on cash flow, more on appreciation. I
Mm,
have a different perspective now, which I try to educate my investors, my retail investors, but a lot of them still can't get their minds around it. In my right now, because there are some operation in my rental properties, when the tenants turn before the tenant turn over, I was collecting rent, so the return on paper looks great. But so I was collecting rent for 2 3 years, but then at turnover, and I have to fix to make sure the property is in the right condition, either to rent them again or sell it. I usually spend like $20,000 just to fix the property for some of the tenant didn't maintain that standard.
mhm,
So if you are someone who look at it from that point of view, you say, "Oh my God, I just lost last 2 years of rental, then this is not worth it." So, but then if you look at it from a different angle, where right now the property appreciated 50%, and if I sell it, then it's going to make a lot more money than that tiny little cash flow that you're making d- during the holding period.
mhm,
So right now my investment strategy has shifted. Before there was all the cash flow mindset. It's like I need to do the 1%, the
mhm,
1% rules. The higher percentage ROI, it's the better. But now I viewed it as like the cash flow just allow you to hold the property to indefinitely. The only thing about real estate is you don't want to exit at a point where you didn't, that it's not to your best interest.
Mm,
So you want to exit at the right time. So if you exit at the right time, you need to have the cash flow to sustain that the whole period. So
mm,
the cash flow to me right now is really the sustainability. Of
mm,
course, if I can make some extra cash, that I'm happy. But I view the whole cash side as sustainability. My main focus is the appreciation side.
mm,
So that's the mindset shift that I changed now. And as far as the investment goes, I will that's what we're doing. So we pretty much exited the lower income sector. So we do the class C for other people now. But
mm,
ourselves, we don't invest in that area anymore. And the only thing that we didn't get to talk about in this is the co-living. The only thing
yeah.
I invest in the class C is the co-living space.
Mm,
But other than that, we don't do the typical 3-2 in the class C neighborhood anymore.
mm,
Um, but definitely focus on a higher quality real estate, like in the near the beach in the prime area, and figure out some kind of business model that will allow you to sustain that holding period and let
mm,
the appreciation makes the most of the money.
yeah. I think that's a great piece of advice. Keenan, if people want to reach out to you after the show, if they have questions or maybe they want you to build some homes for them in St. Johns County, how can they go
Yeah.
about reaching out to you?
I'm the weird guy. I give out them my number. I was never too busy. So 904-540-2126. Text Texting is preferred. Um, but I answer my phone call too.
Cool. Well, awesome. Thanks for being on the show. This is great.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.